Welcome to the Radiant Souls podcast. Today, I am excited to welcome again to the podcast Anistara Ma Ka. Today, she comes on to share about an upcoming opportunity to join on 11/11 for a virtual journey. So let's go ahead and welcome Anistara Ma Ka onto today's podcast. Thank you for watching. Enjoy today's conversation. Welcome, Anistara Ma Ka. Nice to see you today.
Yeah, lovely to see you too.
Yeah, and I love all the colors and your background and everything that's going on there. I'm just beautiful scenery. And yeah, so thanks for coming on today and bringing some messages and information and hopefully inspiration and wisdom toward everybody. We're in always, I feel like, in such interesting times. And I wanted to just kind of tap in here in creating space for the frequency of divine love and peace. And I wonder if maybe we can just start with taking our hands to our heart and breathing in that sense of peace and divine love. And breathing out and sending with our out breath that sense of divine love and peace into the ripples that expand in all directions through all timelines and dimensions. Knowing that this is safe, sacred space here today as we engage in this conversation. Is there anything you would like to add to that divine love and peace frequency message?
Yeah, I really believe that it comes from within. I like to say you begin within because if we're coming from a loving place of loving ourselves first, then that ripples out and it affects those that are around us. It affects the world. It affects what we're creating in our life. And so when it comes to love and inner peace, it really is an inside job. So how can we find that place of calm, that place of peace within us first? And then it will affect those around us. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And the question that you posed, how can we find that space of inner peace and love within us?
Oh
What
my goodness. During these chaotic, tumultuous times, right? There's so much happening on the outside, and it's a reminder that what is happening on the inside is the truth. So, one of the things I like to share with my clients and my guests is using a body pendulum is really helpful. Like asking, "What is my yes?" My name is Anastara. My yes is a lean forward, and my no is a lean back. Sometimes it can be clockwise or counterclockwise. And so when we really tune into our inner knowing and our intuition about any subject matter or anything that's happening on the outside, to really tune into our inner voice, to our higher self, our connection with source, and then we are able to receive the answers that we're meant to have.
I love that. I love the body pendulum idea. And I feel like sometimes people can initially be a little stuck right there, you know? So there's just like we have this beautiful thing called our breath that when we naturally breathe in, it creates this movement in our body that allows us then to find that movement and that rhythm that we can then find our yeses and our nos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just I think in these moments, remembering our our breath because it's with us always. And I think so many times we're forgetting that we have access to that simple tool. Let me just start with what is speaking loud to you right now? Like what's just like today, the message, the information, what does Anasara Ma Ka need to say today?
I really believe that as a human family, that we are on the precipice of a shift in our consciousness, and more people are waking up. They're waking up to the truth of who they are. We are remembering perhaps pieces of our past lives. I like to say simultaneous lives now instead of past life, because if time is an illusion, it's not linear. And so when we tune into those lifetimes and we have memories, it speaks in the language of the soul through dreams, through symbols, through numbers and shapes and geometries. And that's how the universe speaks to us. And so when we really tune into, okay, there is a lot happening right now. What is mine? Like, what is really mine energetically to hold? And what is mine that I can really surrender and release and let go of and just let it flow through me? You know, our emotions are there for us to feel so that we can heal whatever's coming up. And so, a lot of as we are awakening to who we are, a lot of shadows are coming up, a lot of things to be examined. Some are feeling lost or confused. Perhaps their life just doesn't quite make sense anymore. Like they are becoming a new person. They are embodying more of their light body, they're embodying more of their higher self. And when that happens, then lower density frequency things don't serve us anymore. So, for instance, I can't watch horror movies at all. Like, I just don't even want that in my consciousness. There's certain foods I'm really sensitive to now that I didn't used to be. And so, these changes are perfectly natural. And it's important to remember that it's just part of our awakening process or ascension process, and to remember to embody the person that you are becoming. I like to say that who are you being instead of what are you doing, right? Because who you're being will influence what you're creating in your life, who you're surrounded by, what you're doing to be in service. And so during these times, it's really important to just remember that this is all happening for a reason. Even that stuff on the outside, it's all happening for a reason. And if we are aligning to our higher selves message and connection with source and finding that inner peace and finding that self-love, then that will radiate out, that will ripple out, and we will all cause an effect here on planet Earth.
I like what you're saying, especially because the remembrance of when things are coming up to the surface, to remember that it's coming up to be released.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming up because it's in the process of being transformed. And
Mm-hmm.
those are those crucial moments where we have the opportunity to recognize that and be in the being rather than attempting to regurgitate it or being in judgment for it even being there. I feel like in a lot of people that I've been talking to lately, all the things that are coming up, they're then judging what's coming up. And so then they're judging themselves for judging themselves and then saying, well, I got to get rid of this judgment. So I've been reminding people, you know, hey, the first step of getting rid of the judgment is to be okay with having it. And then once we're okay with having it, we can then take the next step of actually letting it go. And that's when you were just saying that, what was kind of coming up for me is that remembering of what is coming up and that it's okay, and to actually be willing to feel it and to let it go. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really important, especially because we just moved out of this whole Samhain, Halloween, Dias de la Muertes, the veils were thin. And so we've been, many of us have been communicating or communing with our ancestors, past, present, and future, and ascended masters and guides. And again, when the difficult or challenging things come up, that is a moment of growth. That is a moment to push out of your comfort zone and get into a place of accepting that this is coming up for a reason. And you can process it any way you want. I like to journal a lot. And this is also an opportunity to create some kind of ritual. You can write it down and burn it. You can bury it in the ground. There's like so many different ways that you can process this information, process the emotions, and be in that place of surrender and release. And when it comes to like people or individuals that you have relationships with that are no longer serving, I feel like the cord cutting is kind of, how can I say, it's abrupt, right? Like when we lose something, sometimes our psyche wants to find it again. And so it's about dissolving, letting it to really just dissolve. One of the practices I like to use too is just writing a name and putting it in a bottle of water, and or a situation, or whatever it is that you want to freeze in time and no longer carry with you forward. And you could just put it in a bottle of water, put it in your freezer, and that is a way to release.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Like the freezing it in time
Yeah.
with the bottle of the water. And
Totally.
I hadn't thought of that one before. So I like, yeah, really acceptance, and acceptance. There is that sort of dissolving, letting go of things and finding that natural rhythm of that natural end, right? That just has its way, right? It's not cutting it short. We might not like it. It might not feel good. And then sometimes we're jumping to the like, I got to figure out the next thing. I got to know, I got to do this. And we're just jumping from one to the next. But there's that place that I feel like we're all in right now, which is this in between space, this like unknown void almost. And that I think brings up a lot of fear and confusion and distortions and misunderstandings while everybody's minds are trying to like, well, it's because of this from the past, or I got to figure this out in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about that? Like, what do you have to say about that in between like place there of acceptance?
I feel like that is where magic happens. That is where miracles happen. It's the in between place. Like when we think about ourselves on a cellular basis, um, the singularities of our atoms, there's so much space between the nucleus and the electrons moving around. Like it's empty space. And in that empty space is potential. And so that in between space to me is like infinite potential. Like, what is it? What is that frequency or that vibration that we want to hold, that we want to emanate, that we want to share? And to just choose to be that. It's a daily choice, really. And I find that when we're in that state of confusion, it's usually due to like some kind of overthinking. We begin to self-sabotage ourselves because oh, I can't do it, or I'm not enough, or I'm not worthy. Like some of these old programs come in and it keeps us from actually getting to where we want to go. So when it comes to confusion, finding a way to quiet the mind, like a lot of people use meditation or yoga. I'm a movement person. I love to dance. And so utilizing your practices to find that inner quiet, to find that center point, to find that 0 point where you can clear out the clutter, so to speak, and the confusion, and get to a place where you're more aligned with exactly what are my core values? What are my guiding principles? Who am I becoming? And let me take a stand for those things like integrity and accountability and compassion.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I know that it's not comfortable, right,
Mhm.
to come into those places. And I mean, like, I'm an idea generator, and so infinite potential is my jam. But like, it can also be the challenge, because when I go into those in between spaces and I go into infinite potential, I'm like this and that and this and that,
Yeah.
and then my mind starts firing, and then I'm like, I have all these amazing ideas, but there's no way anybody could ever create all of those things in one lifetime, right? Or even like probably 10. And so I've got to then learn to like empty that out and let it go and trust that like what is true within it will express itself through me. And sometimes it asks me to sit in what feels like a very uncomfortable space because I'm letting go of some of those things in order to come into more like simplicity and more clarity and yeah, truth with that. So yeah, resonate with that completely.
Yeah, I find that when that happens, you're tapped into the collective consciousness, right? And so you can come up with an invention and then find out later that 10 other people thought of the same thing and somebody actually produced it, right? So not all of it is ours. And that's when discernment comes in, right? It's like, what is in my wheelhouse? What is my zone of genius? And what can I create from my talents and what I'm good at and what I like to do and what I'm passionate about, right? That's when we really start discovering more of what is our purpose. Like, I love hosting events. I love gathering community together. I love witnessing people grow and transform in a beautiful sacred container. And so I have found myself just more and more hosting events, hosting sacred circles, hosting pujas for women, hosting online event for everyone. And that's my wheelhouse. That's where I thrive. That's where I'm excited and passionate and where I lose track of time, really. So, when you're really thinking about you're in that in-between state and you're getting all these messages, okay, I'm going to start discerning and deciphering which one I can hold, like which piece of the puzzle is mine to hold that I'd be really good at doing and love and enjoy doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like coming into that place is that knowing within self, there's this like divine truth and trusting self, trusting the divine within, trusting self as source within. And it's like, and sometimes all that information comes in, right? And I hear people that are like, well, I could do this and I could do that. And they go to all of the things, but they're all other people's dreams and ideas. I'm always reminding people like, okay, all that shines, right, looks amazing. Other people's dreams look really amazing, but then it's like allowing self to come home within self to really find that unique blueprint expression that is the one, and how like you're expressing your art, right? Like how you are sharing, like, supporting and holding events and being present, and is where you lose time and you're really in your space and zone there. Yeah. And do you think that this is what people are waking up to right now? Is everybody's kind of coming into that place of like, I used to value everybody else's visions and wanted to be that person and wear those pants. And now it's like, wait, what's mine? Right. Is that what people are?
Yeah, I think that we are all rainbow fractals of the same diamond, right? And if I'm the purple fractal over here and you're the hot pink fractal over here, right? But we're all still creating this beautiful creation that we call life as humanity here on planet Earth. And so it's a matter of again tapping into that inner guidance. Like, it is so important to listen from within instead of outside of us. And again, those practices are just so key right now, especially with all that's happening. So when it comes to um, purpose, I find that more people are waking up to, I don't like my job. I have a boss that doesn't appreciate who I am. I don't like commuting anymore. I'm really passionate about taking care of babies, right? So they're coming into this realization of, well, wait a minute, life is short. We want it to be fulfilling. And so why do we continue to go out there to so to speak, create somebody else's vision, unless it's something that really calls to your heart, like being a part of a nonprofit that supports something that you really believe in or whatever it is. So as our heart is getting more and more led to what is going to be personally fulfilling for each of us, there's a lot of shift and transition happening. A lot of people are shifting from their old job or how they used to eat or how they used to work out or, various sectors of our life is shifting and changing. And, they say the only constant is change. So being comfortable in the change, face that fear of the unknown and just be okay with it because it's always going to be changing.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Change is part of the dance, and if not the dance
Yes.
of all dances, right? So I feel like that resistance to it is where we kind of can sometimes get a little like like, I don't know, like a little stumble up along the way a little bit, right? Is when
Mhm.
kind of resisting those changes. And sometimes it, it can feel a little scary for people when they're, not liking their job and they've been dependent upon a particular way of life. And all of a sudden, like, their body, their desires, their, visions, like how they thought their life worked is all shifting. And there's not necessarily a new template for it laid out. And they're kind of left in this like, huh. What do we do here exactly? So I know that you currently, like right now, like we are in this transition right now. We've been in this for a while, but we're, in, I don't know if it's the middle or the end or where exactly we are in the cocoon right now, but we're in the soup of it, right? And we're not sure if we're becoming butterflies or moths or what, or how we're coming out of this thing, right? We're floating around in there. Journaling helps, listening into truth, getting present within the self, like you recognizing, remembering that what's coming up is, there to be released and to be, not do. What kind of offerings do you have right now for people that might support them when they're in that state of confusion that is leading to misunderstandings within themselves? Like,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have several projects in my cauldron right now, but the one that is most present is actually happening next week. My husband and I have been hosting an 11/11 gathering for many, many years now. This will be our 15th annual 11/11 gathering and our fifth as a virtual event. And this year's theme is called Activate Your Soul Codes. And it really is about unlocking your purpose, receiving more clarity so that you can really live on mission and impact the world. And this event is really a journey, a sacred journey. It's 3 hours. It starts at 10 a.m. Pacific and ends at 1 p.m. Pacific on 11/11. And it happens to be on a Monday this year. So normally we do like a whole 3-day camp out here on the land. And this year we're like, okay, we are having the virtual event. We're going to have a watch party here at the house so people can come and participate and have a beautiful potluck and a ceremony afterwards. And the sacred journey really includes an energy dance segment where we're going to be moving a lot of energy with Erica Mers. We're also going to have a guided visualization with Karina Lau, tuning us into that inner knowing, that intuition, so that you can receive clarity. And then we'll be having also a beautiful talk with Michaela Ivy as she speaks about the powerful or the power of positive thought and language and how that actually does create our life and what we are creating. And then Liz Connors is going to talk about how to keep that connection with Source God Creator energy during these chaotic times. And then I'll be sharing an 11/11 activation where I'm going to be sharing a piece of the song that I created in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And we'll be able to, at the moment of 11:11 a.m. on 11/11, tune into that vocal transmission. And then we have an Egypt panel where we really dive into how does the ancient wisdom of sacred sites and pyramids allow us to activate our soul codes in our life, carrying us into this new and next chapter of our life. And so that will be with Adam Apollo and Jennifer Ashira Ra and Magdalena Luz and Natalia Price. And then my beloved, one of my best friends, Heather Starr, she is going to be bringing a song and voice activation while I play the singing bowls. So the whole experience is curated and created for us to go on a journey of the soul together. And I'm really excited about it because I really feel like the people who are coming to this container are meant to be there. They are our 11/11er tribe, our star family, those light workers and awakening souls who just want a little bit of guidance right now as we're navigating these uncertain times.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing event. And I love that you're doing it part virtually as well.
Yeah.
And I think that there's, like, I was just talking to somebody today about the opportunities available for doing things virtually and how we can reach people and make connections that way. And
Mhm.
how accessible it is for people. There's nothing that takes away from being in real life, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Yet there are worlds that we can create and ways that we can kind of tap in and make connections. And I love how you've woven all the parts together to give somebody a very complete experience
Hmm.
for this activation that you're doing on this day for the soul codes. And
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 11/11, we kind of feel like has it become a spiritual holiday. It really has become a global phenomenon. There's always so much happening on 11/11. And the number 11/11 actually is a master number or an angelic number, and it means spiritually awakening or enlightenment. And so, really, it is about taking that particular portal day and utilizing it with intention, being in some kind of sacred ceremony, even if you're just by yourself out in nature with your feet on the ground, journaling. It is a powerful portal day. So anything that we think, say, or do gets magnified or amplified. And we have noticed through our 15 years of hosting 11/11 gatherings that whatever it is that you are setting your intention, whatever your prayer is for that day, that it actually happens. Like miraculous things have happened. I've seen an injured friend not be injured anymore, or a friend want their beloved and they found their partner and got married the next year. My husband and I bought our home and it called in our child. Like 11/11 is a potent moment in time for you to really anchor the prayers that you have.
yep, I second that as well. It's a special date, and I also have experienced the same type of potent connections, and
Mhm.
whether you want to call them manifestations or whatever kind of happens from that day, from what I've anchored in and set, and the types of like ceremonies or rituals that I've participated in that period of time. And so I want to talk about purpose for just a moment, because I know a lot of what you're doing with this 11/11 activating your soul
Mhm.
codes, adventure is about stating purpose. And everybody always is like, I'm trying to figure out my purpose. I want to know what my purpose is. What's my purpose? And they get so like hung up on what's my purpose? I don't know my purpose, right? So what do you want to say to that?
Yeah. Well, I believe that the purpose of life is actually living it, being in the process of living it, being in our embodied selves, being a spiritual being, having a physical experience here in this 3D realm on planet Earth. And there are there is a higher calling. Like I know in my heart and many people that I work with that they feel that there's something more, that there's something more than just the rigmarole, 9 to 5, jobby job, commuting, etc. Like that they really want to feel like they make an impact in some way in their family, their community. And we're not talking about people who just want to be leaders and guides and coaches. We're talking about people who just at least want to feel like they go to bed happy. They wake up excited and passionate for what it is that they have chosen to do or who they are choosing to be. And to me, that is purpose. I have one client. She's a beautiful elderly woman. And by the end of the course that she took with me, she's like, I am a matriarchal grandmother. I am here to create community and be in service to them. And her simple day in and out is very simple and helping her daughter with her granddaughter and, just simple things. And yet she has that purpose within. So we're not talking about it has to be this huge, grandiose thing. It simply can be my purpose is to be a mother. I've always wanted to be a mother. And now that I am a mother, one of my life purposes is being fulfilled through having the experience of motherhood, witnessing my child growing, assisting him in becoming who he is meant to be, and allowing him to dabble in this project and dabble in this project and dabble in this thing until he finds out what he likes and what he's passionate about. Right. So it could be something big or it could be something really small. But ultimately, what I find is that when people truly discover that purpose, that ikigai, which is a Japanese concept as the reason for living, right? When you find that, then everything around you, like the universe will align to shift in a way where you can actually experience that. And then you're feeling fulfilled and happy and aligned and synchronized. And it's just amazing.
Yeah. As you were describing that, I was literally having this visualization of like this purpose flower within the heart that just is open. And it's like
Yeah.
life from this like open purpose flower that's sort of like blooming forward, and it's attracting all the bees to it to come pollinate out of it. And like,
Yeah. And when you're on purpose and you are shining your light in the way that you are meant to, the way that your soul feels called to, then you are a magnet. Like that, anything and everything that you choose to have in your life will be magnetized to you. So, yeah, shine your light.
yeah, I'd love for you to share your event, but I just want to bring up one more thing here about this
Yeah.
purpose, because I think some of us also put a lot of expectation on ourselves to always be living on purpose. And
Mm,
I talk to a
mm,
lot of, artists and creative people, and there's moments where we're, in these places of like, we have the project, we have the thing, we know the purpose, but ultimately then there's times where it's feeling like, uh, not it. I don't know how to describe it. There's like, it's usually the person will describe it as like avoidance or procrastination. Like I'm avoiding, I'm
mm.
procrastinating.
Uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
I've been kind of asking or just teasing with that a little bit, saying like, what if that is part of the purpose, is to sometimes be in procrastination because there's like the soup needs to cook a little bit, right? Before
Mm-hmm.
you can take
Yep.
the next action. So
Yep.
what would you say to someone who it's like at the core of their being, they know what their purpose is, but there's
Yeah.
those moments where they're in the thicket of it and
Mm,
they're falling into the like, I don't know my purpose, like this isn't
mm.
working, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that metaphor of the soup, right? Because it needs to cook a little bit before you put the next ingredient, then cook a little more before you put the next ingredient. And so for years, I owned a hoop dance company called Holistic Hooping. And I taught a modality called Kundalini Hoop Dance. And there were periods of time where even I wasn't passionate about hooping anymore. I needed to put the hoop down for a minute. And one of those times was I actually got injured and I just couldn't hoop. Like I publicly couldn't perform on stage anymore for like a year. And I needed to take a break. It was like the universe was like, you're gonna take a break. You're gonna see how you can explore your passion and your purpose without this thing over here, this external object to play with. And when I really sat with it, I came to the conclusion that my purpose is to be in service to others' transformations. Right. And so even though I was doing it through hoop dance and the spiraling energy of embodying yourself through flow arts, when I couldn't do the flow arts for a period of time, that purpose still was bubbling inside of me. So I had to discover new ways to fulfill that purpose. And so, whether it's a project that you're putting down for a while or you suddenly don't have fire in your belly for it, it's okay, right? We talked about the sitting in the what is, right? Because in that empty space, infinite possibilities, and maybe something else new will arrive where you're like, oh, you mean I could still fulfill my purpose and what I feel passionate about doing this or being this? Or providing in this way or sharing this way. So it does allow us to kind of like branch out a little bit more. And you don't want to confuse the purpose with making money. either, right? Of course, it's our dream that our purpose will provide the abundance and prosperity that we wish and desire as well. And yet, you know, there are certain projects that may bring in money, and there's certain projects that won't. And as long as you're still passionate and on fire about it, you're still in that sharing of your light and magnetizing to you. So just be gentle with yourself when you're like, I don't know what to do next. Go into that deep listening again, explore some new things, maybe dabble over here with some paints or dabble over here with some dance or whatever your creative outlet is that you enjoy. You can find a new one too.
Yeah.
So, and
I
still
love
fulfill your purpose through that.
that. And I love your answer because it brought the concept of purpose to that which lives beneath the thing you do. It's that which lives
Yeah.
beneath or within side of the medium through which you choose to express
Yeah.
it. It
Yeah.
can be expressed through different paths and outlets and mediums, but it's just, maybe one isn't flowing. So then it's like pull back into it and see where else it's being asked to be expressed from. Yeah.
Exactly. So beautiful. Well put.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you want to share your website and share
Oh,
about
yes,
Love
yes. I'd love to do that. So, I was mentioning it to you a little bit earlier already, but this is the site. It's 1111unified.com/activate. And when you are ready to say yes, you just hit that button and it'll take you to our 3 portal pass options. And we have the free portal pass to the first 150. In fact, I think we've already reached 200 at this point. So we do like asking for a donation as well. Just kind of keeps the energy moving, and it allows us to treat our team well, who has been so diligently spending time and lovingly devoted to this project. So here you'll just find out a little bit more, some more information, and then the event highlights. We will be talking about ancient wisdom of sacred sites, specifically how Egypt helped me activate my soul codes. And then, of course, the power of 1111. And you can read a little bit about me and then find out more about our speakers. So yeah, this is my passion project, my love, my mission, my purpose to provide a beautiful sacred container on 1111. And this year is the virtual event, and next year will actually be in Egypt. We're taking a sacred pilgrimage to Egypt in 2025 so that we can be at the Temple of Isis on 1111. And so you can find that all on the same website here. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Yeah. So people can join in the virtual this year and then connect in and go to Egypt in the following year, sort of like setting that intention forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Planting the seeds.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you feel that you want to express or share, or that I haven't asked you that just shared here in this moment?
I invite you to have intention with every morning and every evening before you go to bed. Like, what is it that you do? Is there a morning practice that you do? Is there an evening practice that you do? And even if you aren't somebody who has the time to get up and meditate for a half an hour at the beginning of the day, something as simple as before you even get out of bed, you could place your hand on your heart and create some kind of mantra or statement. One of mine that I like to say each morning is I am a multidimensional being of light here in service to humanity's awakening and our planetary ascension. Show me the signs and synchronicities that I am meant to have today so that I can have my path led from on high. Something like that, right? And then in the evening, if there's anything that I need to surrender and release in this moment before I lie down for a deep night's rest, feeling rejuvenated and renewed upon waking, please allow my system to relax and let it go now. It could be something as simple as that. So again, holding intention, having intention with our life is so important to creating what it is that we desire in our life, and to really tune into that inner knowing, that inner wisdom, and let that guide you rather than what's out here, right? Our outside world reflects what's happening on the inside. So
Yeah.
if you want to experience love, if you want to experience peace, if you want to experience compassion, give it to yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the invitation for people to set an intention in the, like before they go to bed and when they wake up, kind of, because when we go to sleep, we surrender into that sort of creative flow in essence, and allowing, and our bodies, our experiences, our beings can be programmed in those moments. So when we, clean out and set intention before going to sleep and then call it back in upon waking, it really does create a potent space for us to live and breathe in and
Yeah.
be in.
That's when the soul speaks loudest to us as well, right? That's when spirit, source, our guides, and it's that in between space that we were talking about. It's like in between going to sleep and waking up. And that state right there is where we receive a lot of our messages. So being aware of that, and actually being open and receptive to those messages at that time is invaluable.
Yes, absolutely. And just kind of one last thing is on what
Yeah.
you're just saying. So many people lately have been telling me, hey, I wake up every night at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then they're frustrated because they're like, I'm waking up. And I'm just kind of like, okay, well, what's the message you're receiving? Because like
Exactly.
it's like you're not getting it the other times, maybe because there's blockages or whatnot. So you're surrendering into the flow and then waking up. So it's, what would you say to that person that is waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning from their sleep? What do you?
Yeah, it happens a lot for me. Also for my son. He's such a little star child. Uh, this is when the field is clear. This is when there isn't the cell phone and the TV and then all the things, right? And so this is when spirit, this is when source, God, creator, whatever you want to put the name to, that's when you're listening. That's when it's speaking to you and through you. And so pay attention to the thoughts, the symbols, the colors, the images that you're receiving. I tend to pick up my journal and write if I don't even want to open my eyes, because as soon as I open my eyes and I'm in this physical world, sometimes I'll lose what it is that I'm hearing or listening or seeing. And so I can quickly grab my phone, run to Otter, Otter, hit record, and I just vocalize what's going on. And I'm remembering a dream or a simultaneous life incident. And through that, basically, Otter will not only record your voice, but it will transcribe it for you. So it'll be written. And then you have that later to work with. Whether it's a project or an email or whatever you want. So I find that those are the most important times to listen, to deeply listen. And I have one sister, she intentionally wakes up at 4 a.m. every day and goes into her meditation because that's when she's a clear channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then give yourself a nap the next day if you need it.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. So thank you so much for sharing about the 11:11 Activate Your Soul Codes event. Are you calling it an event? Is that the proper word?
This year we're calling it uh, a sacred virtual journey.
Sacred Virtual
Yeah.
Journey. Thanks.
Yeah, because it's not just a virtual experience, it's not just a Zoom call with a bunch of boxes talking at you. We are going to dance. We are going to open our voice and sing together. We are going to have interactive experiences.
Yeah. So anybody watching, please join the 11:11 Activate Your Soul Codes Sacred Journey. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing. And
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And you can go to the website 1111unified.com/activate. And I hope to see you there.
excellent. Yes. Thank you.